Hey everybody, it's Aaron Banyan.
Jason Chandler.
And welcome to B&B Banter Bros Goes to the Movies. This week, Jason and I are going to be talking about stand-up comedy. Tim is out sick for right now. We're hoping he has a speedy recovery because Jason and I are kind of lost without him to some degree. But yeah, so we're manning the ship by ourselves this week, so it's going to be a little different. We'll see where it goes.
And speedy recovery, that's a little too late to say that. The guy's 14 days in and getting worse.
Well,
I'm concerned and worried about Tim.
I'm trying not to worry the rest of the fucking audience, Jason.
Yeah. Oh, well.
And I don't want to spread his business around.
Well, I'm just saying, shit's dire. Shit's dire.
Yeah, he's pretty sick. So we're both really hoping he makes a speedy recovery and gets better.
Yeah.
So any, cliche to say it, but thoughts and prayers, I guess, would be appreciated. So.
Yes. All right.
Yeah. So
we are going to talk comedy tonight. Stand-up comedy, sitcoms, and comedy movies or whatever, what have you.
Yeah.
Without Tim, I don't know how to do this. How do you want to start, Aram?
Well, we'll preface this as the reason Jason and I are doing this week is A, because Tim was sick, and B, because Jason and I are not that Tim is not a fan of stand-up comedy, but I believe Jason and I are bigger fans of stand-up comedy. We tend to focus
that is
on it
kind
more.
of why. That is kind of why I thought of this subject.
Yeah.
We had a moment. We realized we were gonna do an episode without Tim, and I was like, "Fuck it, let's do comedy," because you and I love it much more than he does. Not that he doesn't, but
yeah, he's got his likes and stuff like that. But we tend to be more focused on stand-up than he is. Like he has specials that he likes and comedians that he likes, but we have a much broader understanding, or not understanding,
we're
but
more
taste in it.
Gung ho about it. Yeah.
So why don't we just start with? Oh fuck it, let's just start with some of our favorite stand-up comedians. Like, we don't have to do like top 10s or anything like that, but I mean, if you want to go in depth, we can talk about that. But yeah, let's just start off some of our faves. Give 5 or 6, and we'll kind of bounce off that.
I actually, what's your first memory of your stand-up special that you fell in love with? And like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So I remember because my family somehow, I don't remember why, but we always had HBO. So like it was easier to have access to stand-up specials back then.
Yep.
So I remember watching random ones, but the ones that always stuck out, especially that young, George Carlin is probably the easiest one to pick out.
How young?
He was probably one of the more prevalent ones around the time I was growing up too.
How young were you, do you think?
Well, I was single digits for sure. I was probably 6 or 7 when I first started like catching like stuff on HBO or something like that, and probably like between 7 and 9, I started to really kind of like piece together things that were funny.
No shit. Okay.
I probably didn't have a full grasp of everything that was being said. But there were bits and pieces, especially like Carlin had bits and pieces where he would just like, you could tell that he was pointing out something ridiculous. So like, I understood that's supposed to be funny. And so it started to form.
The mannerisms.
Yeah, mannerisms, his facial expressions, like that started to form kind of my sense of humor, which is why I tend to lean towards comics that are, overly animated, angry, tend to point out the ridiculousness of like everyday life or certain, things. So Carlin's probably the first. He probably wasn't the first one I saw, but he's probably the first one I can remember.
Okay.
And then I just sort of built around that. And anytime I saw that there was I would stay up and like watch like late night stand up on HBO. I didn't really get into like Def Jam when I was a kid. because that
The
was
poetry shit.
yeah, like that style where
Yeah.
it was like slam poetry or comedians that would come up there. The Russell
Yeah,
Simmons, I believe.
it was a blend between both for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't get too into that. I'm still not per se into that, but
Yeah, me too. Like, I respect the poetry thing, but yeah, it wasn't entertaining, and I found a lot of people that I like and enjoy from that, but it's not because of that, you know.
right.
Most Def, I think, hosted it or something like that, but
Yeah, he was on it at some points. I know that.
my first memory is also I didn't have my broke ass family. I didn't have HBO capability, but my friend Nathan Hepper, he had HBO, and we'd always watch
Okay.
that shit, and it was just like a really exciting thing for me, back in the day.
For sure. Yep.
And so what we first found, my first memory of the most funniest thing I've ever seen on TV was Chris Rock.
Okay.
And then after that, like, and that's crazy because how the fuck am I gonna relate to that? I think I was 9 or 10 when I watched that,
Yep.
and I'm laughing my ass off. But how am I gonna relate to his words and what he's saying and like his meanings? But it must have been the mannerisms, and it must have been just
sure.
his delivery. Yeah, But
Yeah.
oh my God, that Chris Rock was the reason I fell in love with stand-up comedy. And I remember after we watched that special, the three of us, we all took turns like doing stand-up specials to each other.
Oh,
like,
no. Oh,
oh
no.
my God, it was terrible. And I bombed. I was the worst one. Oh my God. But that's the impact it had on us,
For sure.
Like it just gave us energy, and there's no way I knew what he was talking about because I watched that special years later and several times later.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
It just has so many fucking poignant points about racial this and that, and
Yep.
but
That's and that's the same thing for me. Like all the shit Carlin was talking about, like politically, religiously, like I didn't get the nuances of it, but like the
Right.
absurdity that he spoke of it with is what caught my attention. I think when I was that young.
yes,
Like,
exactly.
Being
And
able
then,
to pick out the absurd parts of the whole thing, and then later on coming to understand it made it better. In some way, made it more memorable, I guess.
Yep. Oh my God, doesn't Carlin just age well? His terminology, I caught on to him after Chris Rock, obviously, and
Sure.
catching up with whatever stand up. He was the one that was remind me of a rapper. The way he uses his words and syllable placement, and he rhymes. So he rhymes.
It's his cadence.
No other comedian, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I got a couple. I'm a hipster, so I got vinyl, and I got a couple of his albums on that shit. And
Oh, damn.
I love to sit back and listen to his shit on vinyl.
Have you ever read Carlin's books?
No, but I've heard they're a great read.
The
I've
first two are really good. They're both original
okay.
material. The third one is basically a lot of the other material being rehashed, so it's not as good. And that's unfortunately that's a lot of what happened to Carlin. Like later on, as
Yes,
he got older, like
say.
his last couple of specials just fell flat for me because it was all shit I'd already heard.
The guy's a genius, but he did too much. He
Yeah.
He just did too much, and
For sure.
there was specials there were specials that weren't good, or he was too angry or too sober, but
Right.
it's just or it was recycled and stuff. And I hate to hate because he's a genius, but he did too much, and
He started to flag later on in his career.
There's some shit out there from him that is not good, and that's just what happens when you do too much.
Oh, for sure. And I think that's probably true of every comedian that eventually lasts too long.
Well, anybody, even bands or
Yep.
seasons of a show that do too many seasons, like
Yep.
shit gets frail or weak.
Yeah, you can only
eventually.
go in the same direction for so long, and then all of a
Yeah.
sudden it just doesn't work anymore. And the ones that can like change it around and like do something different tend to like still flourish. But they're guys like Carlin who
Fuck.
just had like hate to say it this way, but Carlin was kind of a one note guy,
Yeah.
and he
A
wasn't.
lot of comedians are, or a lot of artists are. I mean, they have their direction or the way they are, and then they drive that direction.
Yep.
And then they hit their pinnacle, and then they just try to like revamp it or recycle it. And it's just
Yeah.
and there's nothing wrong with that, and that's great. But it just must be hard to be on top like that, and then try to be new,
Yeah, I mean,
What-
it really, I think it comes down to the focus of your material, how you deliver it, and like what your material is usually about. So, I mean, Carlin can only bitch about politics and religion for so long. I mean, it's not changing at all. So, I mean, eventually everyone's already heard it.
The material is like, it's your angle and the way you're attacking it.
Yeah.
Also is, and that. I feel like I'm hating a little bit much, but I love him.
Oh, yeah.
What do you think about Richard Pryor?
He is
Because people always praise him, say he was the best, and a genius in like showing true self and being funny at the same time.
I mean, I'll admit I always found Pryor funny.
Yep.
I was always a fan. He was able to like. What I admire about Pryor is that, especially after the incident with when he set himself on fire,
Yeah.
he was able to like
Make fun of himself.
Exactly. He was able to be self-deprecating. He didn't shy away from the fact that he abused drugs. Like everyone knew it. He didn't shy away from it. He didn't try to like downplay it at all. And he just incorporated it into his set. He made references to, he didn't do big parts of it or big pieces on it, but like he made jokes like at certain points where like you knew what he was referencing, and he was able to just naturally incorporate that. So I really admired that about Carlin, or Pryor, not Carlin.
Yeah.
So I mean, I guess that's probably my biggest accolade for Pryor. Like I say, I always found him funny. But yeah, some of the stuff obviously fell flat for me because he was kind of before my time, and
that's why I bring it up, because as a youngin, I didn't connect with him.
right.
But towards my mid-20s and 30s, I started to connect with him more because he's pretty deep and like, I don't know, he's real life type of turmoil comedy, and you don't really get it until you lived it, So, and his movies where he got fucked over in the movie business. I don't know if you watched any documentaries, but
I haven't, no. But I mean, it wouldn't surprise me.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, you seen Brewster's Millions or Superman 3 or like, he just did a whole bunch of white man comedies, and it kind of, it's not what he wanted to do, and he kind of got fucked over in that sense. But
Moving was always my favorite Pryor comedy when it wasn't him and Gene Wilder. Like when he did movies on his, Moving was my favorite solo Richard Pryor movie. Because I had like Dana Carvey and like Dave Thomas were like minor characters in there, but like he was just super. Randy Quaid was in it. He was super funny in that movie. And that's like a legit Richard Pryor movie. It's not him and Gene Wilder. It's just Richard Pryor in Moving.
I don't think I've ever seen Moving.
You should watch it sometime if you ever get a chance. It's a good one.
I am a fan of the See No, Hear No Evil, or those Gene Wilder movies.
See No Evil, Hear No Evil is one of my favorites. I remember that one from growing up, so like I'm always a fan of that. Silver Streak is probably their most notable one, and like I don't know that one very well. I've never seen it.
Once again, they're all similar. They're all
it's all playing off the differences of like Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor. Like it's all playing off of their chemistry. It's just them in different situations.
And that's why it works. The chemistry is
Yeah.
fucking amazing.
Those two
Holy
had
shit. But yeah, the sorry.
well, and Tim might have told me this, but what made them so good was because, I mean, at the time Pryor was on a lot of drugs, but
Yeah.
Gene Wilder had trained in the army as a therapist of some kind, and so
Okay.
like he knew how to like direct Pryor while he was bugging out on drugs. He knew how to keep Pryor, like get Pryor back under control to actually make the takes work.
Wow.
So and that's how they worked so well together. Is that Wilder knew how to handle him.
Right. Did you know Pryor? You know how he grew up and his mother's status and shit?
No, I don't know that.
Like his mother was a fucking prostitute.
Really? Damn.
Yeah, he grew up with like Johns coming in and out, you know, as a child. Like, I don't know. I don't want to talk about Pryor too much, but I'm just saying, like,
Yeah.
I didn't connect with him as a youngin', but I connected with him as I get older. And he's funny as fuck. And the more documentaries I watch, it's just like I understand the praise, the comedians that I enjoy, like Bill Burr and
Yep.
Bob Saget, give him because
He's a real life success story. Like he pulled himself out of nothing. It sounds like.
Thank you. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. What do you think about? Oh shit! What do you got a question for me before I ask another?
No, I didn't even know what question we were on.
We
We got sidetracked for a moment.
Yeah, we're a couple of banter bros here.
Right. But I think, well, we were talking about our earliest experiences.
Oh yeah, stand-up specials, but I think we covered that. Mine was Chris Rock. Yours was George Carlin.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you
HBO,
which.
baby.
Couldn't tell you which Carlin's. I think it was Jammin' in New York was the name of the special that I probably remember because it had the air. Yeah, it had the airplane safety instruction bit, which was Jammin' in New York. I have a number of his specials memorized by certain bits he does.
Yeah. That's awesome. I have a terrible memory, so I was gonna try to quote some of the fucking shit that I remember, but I can't. He has so many specials. So many.
Some of
over like 20, I want to say.
Probably close to. I think the other one that I always enjoyed, I believe it's called Back in Town, which has one of my favorite bits that he does, which is called State Prison Farms. And it's basically him laying out a plan to turn 4 different states into a prison, like a prison. And like each state houses a certain type of criminal. And he starts talking about how like you use it to balance the budget by putting cameras in there and like putting it on TV. And then he's like, oh, I think I got an even better idea. Gates. He's like, you put like 18-inch gates that open once a month for like 30 seconds. And you start seeing all the alphas jockeying for position so they can get through. And he's like, then you wait and they're going to start crossbreeding.
Oh my God.
It's one of his better bits. As far as I go, it's one of his better bits. I love that bit. I think it's hilarious every time I fucking listen to it. So
I gotta check. That doesn't sound familiar to me. I gotta check it out.
yeah, it's on Spotify. All this shit's on Spotify now.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can find it really quick.
Fuck it. What do you think about Robin Williams?
He's actually one that I was going to talk about because I actually found. So I remember the last special he released, the Weapons.
Yeah, that was pretty good, wasn't it?
I didn't enjoy it. For some reason.
Really?
Yeah. So I think that I watched live on
2012.
Yeah, Weapons of Self-Destruction or something like that.
Yes. Yes.
That didn't ring very well for me, and I think part of my issue is
in
college we watched live on Broadway so much that I just was tired of that much energy.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
like, and
that's my issue with him too. Is too much energy.
And honestly, like I watched specials from like in the 70s when he was still doing Mork and Mindy, and he's all coked out, and I remember those pretty fun. But yeah, like somehow when he got sober, he got more animated, and I don't know if that's him just projecting. Like,
I felt like it was him overcompensating.
Yeah.
Yes.
Could have been. I mean, it certainly wouldn't surprise me.
I have no proof, but it's a thought I always had.
Yeah.
Because, like, he thought he had to, like, do what he did before, so he, like, overdid it.
Yeah.
You know, it's just in my head. I don't know.
I mean, and part of that is obviously like that's just the way he was in general. But like, yeah, it certainly seemed he seemed overdone, or he just, it could just be that his mind was firing at a mile a minute, and he just couldn't, or he's trying to keep up. Because I mean, I've had moments like that too, where all of a sudden it's like, hey, that's 9 thoughts you've had in the past 3 seconds. Slow it down.
Yeah, and I like to call that a manic state, but
yeah, very much so. But yeah, I mean,
but I really enjoyed it. I was surprised that I enjoyed the weapons or whatever.
Weapons of self-destruction, yeah.
Maybe because I wanted to enjoy it, but
it's possible.
I don't know. But I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm surprised to hear that you didn't.
But
yeah,
maybe
his
something
old
I go back and watch again to try and see if maybe I just didn't give it a fair shake. But I mean, yeah, I think part of it was just the guys that I hung out with in college. We watched a lot of shit like that, and I think we just overdid it. And I was just like, okay, I just need you to like stop.
Okay, so when you usually watch stand-up specials,
yeah,
you watch them with a room of friends?
I did in college because that's just what you did in college.
Obviously, you're surrounded. Yeah.
Nowadays, like if I can find somebody that like likes the same comedian or is willing to watch it, and I want to watch it, I'll sit down and watch with somebody. But like, I watch the shit basically to laugh. So like, I don't give a fuck if somebody's there or not.
So my question is, do you enjoy it more with people around you or alone, or is there no difference?
So, this is what I'll say about that. There are times where it's more fun. I actually find it more fun to rewatch a special that I've already seen with someone who hasn't seen it, because then all of a sudden it becomes more funny for me because I can see their reaction. And
I've definitely done that many times.
Yeah,
you're right.
I
like that.
That's when
I love those moments.
That's when a lot of rewatching becomes better for me, because all of a sudden it's like, oh, I get to see someone else's reaction. So,
speaking of rewatching, do you think comedy specials or comedy in general ages well or doesn't?
Some does.
I mean, I don't like political comedy because it doesn't age well.
Right.
Or like, and I'm not I'm not smart enough or don't care enough for politics to like connect with it or understand it. So that shit doesn't hit me very well. But do you think when you go back and rewatch old shit like Pryor or Carlin, do you still laugh? Or is it a nostalgic thing?
Some of it depends on how long it's been since I listened or watched. Some of it can very easily be chalked up to the fact that I'm just feeling nostalgic and like, oh, I haven't listened to that in forever. Like, let's give it a listen.
Yeah.
I agree with political humor. It's very, you have to have lived through it to some degree, or like have an understanding of it before you can find it funny many years later, I think. Depending.
Right.
Like, it's very like, it's dependent on how pointed the joke is or how specific the joke is. So like, there's a joke that George Carlin makes about Dan Quayle. So like, that only works if you know about Dan Quayle and you understand how like he was during the races, like what that he was in. I don't understand it that much, but they paint him to be kind of a lunatic, and that's how Carlin kind of paints him. So like, unless you understand that part, that everyone thought he was crazy as shit, the joke about Dan Quayle kind of falls flat, I think. Like, I don't think I could show it to someone like in their early 20s and have them understand it the way I understand it.
Does your father laugh at that joke?
My dad probably did at the time.
Because he's a political person, right?
He's kind of political.
I
He's
forget.
not super political, but I mean, he's definitely in politics to some degree.
Wasn't he in?
He was in the Minnesota House of Representatives for a term.
Yeah.
But I mean, at the same time, my dad can joke. Like, I tell the story all the time about one time Dad and I were on a plane, and we were talking about George Carlin before we got on the plane. And as they were giving the safety instructions on the plane, Dad and I are in coach just fucking whispering the fucking bit about the safety instructions to each other, laughing our asses off. And nobody else got what we were doing. We looked like lunatics, I'm sure. I'm just glad we didn't do it after 9/11, because we probably would have been kicked off the plane. But
Holy shit! Yeah.
being the fact that
Um,
we're not exactly the whitest people up in Minnesota here.
well, all right. Yeah, you look pretty white to me, but
That's because I don't go out in the sun anymore. Like
I
I'm
don't
just
know.
pale.
Hell yeah. I don't know. We're talking stand-up comedies, specials, stand-up comedians. Do you want to go through the 70s to now, or do you want to talk sitcoms
I honestly
or
couldn't
movies?
really tell you much. I mean, year-wise, like who I was into, like from the '70s to now. Like I just kind of picked up and watched whatever was there. Like I say, I watched some of Robin Williams shit from the
It's
'70s,
true.
some of Richard Pryor shit from the '70s, but I also watched stuff from the '80s and the '90s from them too. So I mean, I couldn't tell you what I was really into in what decade. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm the same. I mean, I wrote that question down thinking it was going to be something important, but the more I think about it, it's like I like who I like, and I'm not quite sure where they're from or when I
Exactly.
saw them. So it's like I don't know. I don't know. I'm just glad that comedy right now is popular again.
Yeah, it's coming back.
It's had its downfalls
Yep.
several times,
Yep.
and droughts. And I'm really excited. I don't know. Have you heard of Tony Hinchcliffe?
I know the name. I know he's got a special on Netflix that I haven't watched.
Oh no, that's no longer on Netflix. That's old school. He's got I just brought that name up because I knew you didn't know of him, and I'm thinking maybe we should just throw names at each other that we don't think each other know. But Tony Hinchcliffe is fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
Independent comedian.
Okay.
YouTube, and the YouTube.
Oh yeah, YouTube is saving comedy right now.
Thank you. That's exactly what I was gonna. Thank you.
Because I think I think I just saw a comedian whose name I can't remember right now. I think her special debuted on Comedy Central's YouTube channel last night. I think it was called Whiskey Fists. I can't remember her name offhand. I'll have to look it up. But yeah, I mean, even Comedy Central's, I think, starting to see that YouTube is the way to go with specials.
They are. They must be because they keep broadcasting an all-day event or like roasting shit. Like they'll do 24 hours on YouTube.
Yep.
Like I don't know. So they must be. And my favorite comedian is Mark Norman, and that guy is a fucking one-liner after the other.
Yeah.
And he made his last special, he tried to sell it to Netflix and Prime, Amazon Prime, and all this shit. And everybody said no because he's just a white guy, and they want diversity and all that shit. So
he doesn't bring enough to the table. Yeah.
Right? So, crazy enough, he puts it on YouTube himself independently, 7 million views.
I believe it.
Now, a year later, he's getting a half-hour special in October on Netflix. They call him. Netflix calls him. So Netflix,
Netflix has been doing some weird shit like with stand-up. I'll talk about the fact that Patton Oswalt released a Netflix special that I never knew about.
Yep.
And like all of a sudden it was like I Love Everything or something like that was what it was called. It was after his one before that, which was Annihilation, where like he actually really tackled the fact that his wife died, and that was really good. This one is good, but it's a different side of Oswald. Like he's not nearly as curmudgeonly about everything, I don't think, and he even addresses it in the new one. Like
curmudgeon. What's that word?
Dude, he's not like super grouchy, curmudgeonly. Like he's not super grouchy about everything, and like.
Oh,
so like,
I guess he is kind of a grumpy midget. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Again, that's the humor I gravitate towards.
But I think your point is like, yeah, I saw that special, but I didn't see it till months after it was out.
Yeah, I think I came across it like a month after it was released, and I was like, what the fuck is this? But like, yeah, they're definitely like, it's definitely, when they can find certain, I hate to say it this way, but certain minorities, like that they can like lean into. Like Joe Coy seems to be popping up a lot, which he's funny. He's actually very funny. I think he's hilarious.
I've actually never seen anything from him.
His older stuff, like from Comedy Central and stuff like that, was funnier.
Okay.
But like he's funny. Russell Peters is another one. You know, he's
I like
funny.
that. I like him.
But he's also kind of.
Do you like Sebastian something?
Sebastian Maniscalco?
Yeah, you like him? He's pretty fucking popular nowadays.
Yeah,
but I haven't watched
which is
anything
weird
from
because
him.
I think all in all he's probably got like 7 or 8 specials.
Oh, he's been working for like 30 years.
Yeah, he's been working
apparently.
a while. And he's just like Netflix just kind of pumped him into the mainstream a little bit, and like he's kind of taken off. But yeah, he's pretty funny. He's not like the top of my list, but I've watched a couple of his specials and they made me laugh. Kyle Kinane's probably one of my favorites right now.
Kyle who?
Kyle Kinane.
Oh, is that the guy you showed me at the one podcast? Yeah, I like that guy. Was pretty fucking funny.
Got a really gruff voice. He's like my size, but like with a big beard.
Oh yeah. I looked him up. That's right. Yeah. Yeah, he was pretty fun. I never heard of him until you showed me. There's so many fucking comedians. Like, there's a lot of hacks. There's a lot of good comedians.
Yeah.
It's just crazy, like, that world. I do enjoy the comedy community. When I listen to a lot of podcasts, and it's very comedian-based.
Yeah.
And I like their stories because they travel the world. They have a lot of stories about this and that, you know, obviously where they get their bits from.
Right.
But my favorite part is that their community, like, they have a group of friends that they're close with. They're all comedians.
Yeah.
They sit around and eat lunch and get drunk or whatever and help each other with their own bits. Like, they'll have an idea for a joke, and then this other comedian will help tag it, you know, make it better. And it's just like a friendly environment, and I really appreciate that. And I don't know, I'm jealous of it.
For sure. I think Nate Bargatze has like a great joke about that, where he's talking about his wife always.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you always like hang out with your friends. He's like, yeah, because they're professional comedians.
They're funny as fuck. What the fuck? Oh, dude, I love that guy, and I'm going to see him in November. I am.
Oh, who's he coming with? I thought I saw that he was doing shows with Jeff Foxworthy, which is kind of what made me go, no.
I don't know anything about. I'm going to see Bill Burr in October and Nate in November, but I don't know about their features or openers or anything like that.
Oh, legit.
Yeah, so I'm kind of like,
damn, maybe
don't want to know. I want to be surprised.
I might just pick up some tickets. Fuck.
Dude, oh my God, I've always been a fan of stand-up comedy and watching specials, this and that, but I've never been the guy to go to the shows, and now I am, and I'm really excited to. So this Bill Burr will be my second stand-up comedy show I've ever been to.
That's legit.
My first one is so far back, I can't remember who it was.
I think the closest thing I've been to stand-up is I went to Kevin Smith did one of his Q&As in town here at St. Cloud State, and I went there. I even skipped it.
I don't care. That guy's a stand-up.
It was great. Well, I mean, but like it wasn't like strictly stand-up at that point. It was all Q&A
I know.
stuff.
He's different. He's different.
I mean, he does stand-up now, which is, I mean, his stand-up special was actually pretty good. I skipped part of my shift that night to go to that fucking show.
So you saw him? Did you talk to him?
No. I didn't have a chance because like I legit had to like fly to work after that. So.
Oh yeah.
People were out looking for me.
Yeah, you know I love Kevin Smith, but
yeah,
he will not call it a stand-up comedy show, but it is. It really is. The dude is just funny as fuck. Yeah. I mean, you know it from his movies and his writing.
Right.
He's just got the fucking inkling to be funny, or the beats, like it's within him.
Yeah.
But he does not call himself a stand-up comedian out of respect, because he doesn't out
of respect for people that put in the work. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
So I love Kevin Smith, but yeah, that Showtime special is fucking where he had a heart attack right afterwards. Fucking hilarious. And all he did was tell 4 or 5 stories. That's all he did.
That's really all he has to do, really.
And that's why I enjoy his podcast. He just does that shit.
This is legit.
He's repetitive as fuck, but what you got? What you got?
Well, do we want to stick on stand-ups for a minute, or do we want to go into sitcoms, sketch comedies?
We can do sitcoms. We can switch it up to sitcoms.
Word. So, I mean, there are a couple that, like, I feel like... So, growing up, that I always watched. I watched with my grandparents, because that was just who I hung out with. I remember watching, like... I used to watch Perfect Strangers and Night Court. Was, like, an 80s to 90s sitcom.
Night Court was weirdly entertaining. Holy shit.
I own all the seasons of Night Court on Amazon right now. So
do you?
I do.
Do they hold up? Because I'm afraid to rewatch it. I remember loving it so much, but I'm afraid to rewatch it and hate on it.
There's plenty of shit in there that's funny because it's not the subject matter is very self-contained. It doesn't have an overarching like storyline or anything like that. There's a bunch of like just random bits that may pop up, but like every episode is very much its own coherent story. And there's and just the whole thing is just it very much relies on being ridiculous. So there like, it's not anything like where you have to like worry about. There's a few episodes where like Roz becomes a diabetic but doesn't want to accept it, so like she has whatever. That's
Roz is the blonde, or
Roz was Marsha Warfield, who is the third bailiff that works with Bull.
Yep. She's on that Comedy Store documentary, actually.
Oh, word?
Yep. Sorry.
Yeah, she was the third one that got, because like the first 2 died. Those were probably one of the heavier episodes, is like after the second one died, like, and Bull has like a breakdown about it. That's actually kind of a heartbreaking episode. But they're like I say, they're all pretty good so far. I haven't finished it yet. The Perfect Strangers was the one that really kind of disappointed me, because you could tell, like the last season, they were just sort of writing it for the money. There wasn't a lot of storyline to it, and like even after the season before that wasn't great, but there was still an overarching like theme.
I know what you're saying, dude. I love sitcoms and I love them being ridiculous, but you can always tell when they don't give a fuck anymore.
Yeah.
You can always tell when they're just writing it for the money. I never put in that words before, but you're absolutely right.
I feel like there was like a writer's strike at some point around that time too, so that might be part of it. I'd have to go back and look.
Yeah.
But yeah, the last season of Perfect Strangers really was disappointing, because it was just cobbled together weird shit that they were doing. A lot of like weird sort of like fantasy episodes where like they envisioned themselves as other characters, and
that fantasy episodic shit, or
there was
dream fever shit.
There was one episode where they were Laurel and Hardy, and I was like, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah, you're going back then. My first favorite, I don't even know if Cheers. I'm just gonna say it. Cheers.
Yeah, that's. Like, I mean, it's a good one. I didn't watch a lot of it myself, because, like I say, I was usually watching other stuff. But I mean, I can watch Cheers now and really appreciate it still. Like, it's still funny to me.
Oh my god, that holds up. I loved it back in the day, and it's because my parents watched it. Why I watched it.
Yep.
And I didn't get the fucking humor at the time, but as I rewatch it, it just gets funnier and funnier. And Norm and the
Cliff.
Oh my god, he is the butt of the joke.
I think what really works for that show, is that it's self-contained into one spot 90% of the time. It's all in that bar, other than like the times that they have to go out. But like for the most part, it's all in that bar, and I think that's what helps it.
And it's kind of like watching a show at a theater, or like because they did a lot of it in one take. Like,
well, it's because they always say like it's recorded in front of a live studio audience, so it's not a laugh track.
Yeah.
It's people laughing at the show.
Exactly. So I don't know. It's just so
that's something
so
that's
authentic and real.
that's something that's really gone missing from sitcoms nowadays.
Oh,
is
dude.
the recorded in front of a live studio audience. Like, there's certain bits of magic to that I don't think you can have anymore without that. Without the live studio audience, there's certain bits of magic that you just don't get. You know.
Yep. Yeah, it's a dead thing. I think sitcoms are done. Like, what is the last sitcom that you enjoyed? Like, mine is probably Modern Family, How I Met Your Mother. I'm not sure, but
How I Met Your Mother is probably the last true sitcom, from what I can tell.
Yeah.
I mean, there's still sitcoms going on, but like I don't think they've reached
but
the heights
they
that
suck.
Yeah, I
It's
don't think they've reached the
terrible.
heights as like How I Met Your Mother. I mean, 2.5 Men was probably the last.
I did enjoy that show, actually.
The last
as
true
much as
sitcom that I remember really enjoying was 2.5 Men.
That's that Chuck Lorre, I think his name is.
Yeah, he's the same guy that wrote The Big Bang Theory, and I think he wrote a couple
Yeah.
other ones too.
He's a comedy writer for sure, but
Yeah,
But yeah, I don't know what it is, but there's a difference to sitcoms nowadays where
yeah,
sitcoms have always been cheesy and ridiculous, but nowadays they're cheesy and ridiculous and no fun. Like,
right.
I don't know, maybe I'm just too old or got sick of them, but something has changed. I don't know what it is.
A lot of them,
something has changed.
It seems to me that a lot of them nowadays take pretty heavy subject matter and try to turn it on its ear a little bit. Like, I think the easiest one to think of is Mom, which is, Anna Faris.
Anna Faris.
And she's like a recovering alcoholic, and like,
yeah, I enjoyed that show.
I think she's
I
funny.
didn't finish it, but I liked it.
I think Allison Janney's funny. I didn't stay
an
with
amazing
the show.
actress, by the way. Sorry.
No, she is. I didn't stick with that show for very long, but I think.
No, I didn't finish it either.
I think that's what I mean, because the old ones, it was never about an overarching theme of like, I mean, Cheers. Yeah, Sam was an alcoholic, but like that wasn't really referenced that heavily. He would explain it every now and again, and like, yeah, they had like parts where like all of a sudden he was drinking again.
Good
after
point.
They just
would dabble in.
Yeah.
Yes. There you go. Nice.
It was something they tucked away to make a point later or to like do something later, but like it was established and then just forgotten about for a while. And that's I think what everything is really lacking nowadays is like it's always really focused on the character's flaws. Like that's all well and good to some degree, but like you have to be able to say, yeah, well, he's human. He's still trying. Like he's still working through it. Like he's doing stuff. Yeah, he may fuck up sometimes, but like, like it's not like, oh, well, he's not.
So they make it too serious.
Yeah, they try to take themselves
fun.
Yeah, they take some of the fun of it by having the heavier subject matter front and center, and obviously people are like, we shouldn't laugh.
Damn, that's a good point. I agree with that.
That's my take on it. I mean, I could be wrong. Somebody who listens to this could easily just, message us and let me know that I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about.
Hell yeah. Yell at us, please, listeners. But since we're talking about Cheers and my passion for it, Aram, do you like Frasier? The sitcom Frasier?
I fucking love Frasier.
Oh, thank you.
I know that.
Oh my God, the best hoity-toity comedy ever to exist.
And again, that's a show where it took like a character flaw and just like it made it natural enough in the setting that like it wasn't front and center. Like it was the constant part of a joke, but like you accepted it at the same time.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
You knew what it was. Yeah.
Yeah, you knew what it was. No one had to shove it down your throat. You could just. And like even still, like even with his flaws,
they just played off it instead of what?
Even with their flaws, the characters were endearing in many ways. Like, yeah, they could act
my
like dickheads,
God.
but like at the end of the day, they were good guys that like didn't
Even
mean
this-
harm. Like Niles,
even
his
this-
dad, like
Even Niles and his stupid crush on
Daphne.
what's her name? Daphne.
Yep.
It was so ridiculous, but
Yeah.
you really wanted, for some reason, like they played it so well. Like you wanted Niles to hook up with her.
Exactly.
And when it finally happened 8 years later, you saw it coming, but you were happy it happened. Like I don't
Right.
know, it just it's gotta do. It has to be something with the writing and the actors.
I'm
and
sure it's
the
it's
delivery.
usually,
Like
it's a
I
formula,
don't
and if
know.
you don't have all the right ingredients, I'm sure it falls flat a lot.
It's gotta be. Yeah, and I don't think people take sitcoms serious anymore. I don't know why. I'm trying to guess why they're not good anymore, but
I mean,
I just haven't liked a new sitcom in a while.
right? I mean, I think it boils. Yeah, I think that's the main thing is that if you don't have the right ingredients, or if you take some of the stuff away, it's not the same, and therefore it's not nearly as good. Like it's kind of like when Friends ended, and then Joey got his own sitcom. I don't think that lasted very long, and I think that's because you just had Joey. Like you didn't have anybody else. Like you didn't have
No.
Chandler to bounce off of. You didn't have Ross
No.
or Phoebe or any of them
Yeah.
to really
Yeah.
like work with Joey.
That seems like a studio network idea. Like, oh, we're just gonna do this,
Yeah, it's
but they don't know what they're talking about. Basically, is my point.
yeah.
What do you think about sketch comedy? What's your favorite sketch comedy?
So, growing up, this is gonna sound goofy, but growing up, I watched a lot of In Living Color.
Me too. Yes, I love that.
So yeah, so I
love In
watched the
Living
shit ton of
Color.
that. That was my first
The
exposure
hip hop
to.
acts at the end.
Yep.
I fucking love that show.
That was my first exposure
What's that?
to
Fire
Jim.
Marshal Bill.
Yep, that
Jim
was,
Carrey.
I was gonna say that was my first exposure to Jim Carrey. Actually, it
Yeah.
was my first exposure to most of the Wayans family.
True. Me too.
I mean,
yeah. I think this is the first thing they did, actually.
Well, Keenan, I feel like Keenan, who started the whole thing, had done something else, but I don't remember what, or he did something close to that, like around that time. But yeah, I don't think anyone like other than Damon maybe had done anything specific, and even I don't think he'd done more than like a guest spot on some stuff. But I could very well be wrong. Marlon
Oh my
and
god.
Sean was the DJ for the first like however many seasons. Then all of a sudden he was a recurring cast member.
Yeah.
And then Kim, Marlon, Damon, Keenan, they were all on the show. It was
Hell yeah. I
couple female
thoroughly. That's
comedians
my
on it.
first favorite sketch comedy. And then I found Canadian
Oh, the Kids in the Hall.
yes. Did you like that one?
I didn't get too much into them. They're
It was a short-lived series for sure.
Yeah.
But I thoroughly enjoyed it and loved those actors.
I think Dave Foley
Comedians.
and I can't remember the other guy, but there were two of them that I enjoyed as comedic actors. I don't think I really got into too much in the Kids in the Hall itself. I even remember the
Yeah.
movie. The movie fell flat for me. I think it was too.
There's a movie?
Yeah, it's called Brain Candy.
Oh yeah, that did. That's why I don't remember it. 'Cause I don't think I liked it.
Their stuff was, I want to say, cerebral in ways that I don't think I really gelled with at the time.
Yeah.
Cerebral, and a little, and could be very just ridiculous at the same time. So
What do you-
I didn't, for some reason I didn't connect with it very well.
What do you mean by cerebral?
Like there was this shit that like they would do and say because their delivery was kind of like very straight. They had a kind of a straight delivery.
Yeah.
Like even when they were doing ridiculous shit, like the people that weren't dressed ridiculously or having to act that way were just very straight about it. Like they were delivering the lines seriously, and like you
Yeah.
had to be able to like understand the whole situation,
You had to
and
be
like
in.
you had to be in the
yeah.
moment, like in the scene and in the moment, and for
That's
some
very
reason
true.
it didn't hit for me. Yeah.
What about? Yeah, I agree with that. I don't know why I liked it, but I thought it was super ridiculous.
I
So
had plenty of
liked it.
friends that really,
But I
liked it.
didn't watch it till I was in my 20s. I didn't see it till way later.
Yeah, I had plenty of friends
So-
that were into it like when I was like 12. So
Did you did you grow up watching SNL? Did you stay up
I did
late?
not. No, I didn't watch
Yeah.
SNL. I watched. I ended up watching Mad TV for a while. I watched the
Ooh,
first few seasons of
too.
that, and then I kind of trailed out. Like once Artie Lang
you
was
read-
gone, I was
did
kind
you
of
read
just
the-
over it.
Did you read the comic? The book, Mad TV?
No,
Me neither.
no.
But yeah, a lot of people, it was like a thing.
Mhm.
Did you stay up late? Did you like disappoint your parents or trick your parents and sneak into watching SNL at midnight?
No.
It was like a thing that the kids would talk about. It was like something you should have done. You know what I mean?
Right. No,
I did it once or twice, but I never got hooked. I never got hooked.
I'm gonna be real honest, and I'm gonna I'm gonna be a typical 12-year-old and say that I stayed up watching Skinamax.
Red Shoe Diaries, David Duchovny.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's what I did.
Hell yeah. Me too.
I did that as well. I didn't want to laugh that late at night. So
that's hilarious.
But
yeah,
I was gonna say one of the best sketch comedy things I've ever seen. Rowan Atkinson had a special just called Rowan Atkinson Stands Up in the mid '90s. I used to have it on cassette or VHS. Sorry, not cassette. That implies that I had a cassette player. I did, but this was a VHS tape. And it's literally just him doing sketches. Like, it's him and maybe one other person that has to lend a voice or do like a secondary character in the skit. But like, everyone always remembers Rowan Atkinson for Mr. Bean.
Okay, now I know who you're talking about.
He did a show before that called Blackadder, which is much better because you get a chance to hear him talk, and he actually is able to deliver actual like dialogue that is hilarious. And this sketch show, like, he does bits where like it's Mr. Bean. Like, there's one bit that is a classic Mr. Bean skit. There's another one where he doesn't really talk, but like he does a lot of like physical humor. And then there's just a bunch where like he just does different characters playing off of this one other guy, or like just standing by himself and just playing off of no one. And he's hilarious doing it. It's, if you ever get a chance, watch, like, there's one skit called Fatal Beatings, where he basically tells a father he had to beat his child to death because he caught him stealing a book from the library. And that's a pretty hilarious bit. There's a bunch of them like that, though. So
I got to write that down. What's it called? Black Hatter?
Blackadder, which is like the snake, like a black adder.
Okay.
So ADDER.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's like 4 seasons.
I like
of
that guy. That dude's funny.
There's like 4 seasons of that, plus a bunch of specials they did. Like, he did like a Christmas Carol version of Blackadder, which is pretty good. But yeah, that's very much classic like British humor, because that's like from the 70s or 80s, I think. That's very much dry, sarcastic, like snarky British humor, like at its finest. The only other thing that's probably as good as that is Fawlty Towers with John Cleese.
John Cleese? Who's that?
He's from Monty Python. He's one of the members of Monty Python. So he did a show called Fawlty Towers where he and his wife own a hotel, and he's always trying to have like an upper class sort of like clientele, and he's very like temperamental and like very snarky to everybody that he doesn't want to be around. Constantly, like, he yells at the waiter who and like slash bellboy who is Spanish, doesn't speak a lick of English. He's always yelling at him about it, and like his wife at some point is like, "You're the one that hired him." She's like, "You said you could speak Spanish." He's like, "I can speak classic Spanish. I don't know what the hell he's saying." And it's shit like that he says. Like, he just does says ridiculous shit. And I'll send you the link to the video, but there's a video of John Cleese doing an interview where he talks about the actual owner of a hotel that he met that basically he based his character off of. He's just like, the guy he says he had a touch of madness about him. He'd go up and like he'd be looking down doing something. He'd be like, "Excuse me, yes," and he's like, he wouldn't look up at you. Like, "Excuse me, can I just?" "Yes, what is it?" He's like, and that's exactly how he acts in the show. So like that's another one, like old style stuff that like I enjoy. Like, that's the one. Speaking of old style and Monty Python, did you partake? I've watched some of it, yes. Some of it, no.
Me too. Some of it, I have dabbled, but a lot of comedians, as I listen to a lot of comedian podcasts, they fucking love. It's like inspiration for their comedy is Monty Python.
Yeah.
And
well, as far as I
never-
know,
and
Monty
it's a-
Python just did something different.
yeah, and it's a Canadian based, I believe.
English.
Yeah. Oh my bad.
They're very British.
Yeah.
You're thinking of, I believe, Second City was the
Yes,
Canadian.
I am. Yes, I am. They had yes. But yeah, I've watched Meaning of Life. I think this is the only one I've really watched.
Meaning of Life
Where
is good.
The fat guy blows up
Yep.
or whatever.
And that's a movie all done sketch comedy.
Yep.
Like that's
Yep.
like they did a lot of production because Terry Gilliam, who's a member of the Monty Python, you've seen tons of shit he's done, I'm sure. But like he's the one that does all the animations and he directs all this stuff. Like so like they put a lot of like effort into doing something funny that was very different and very off the wall. Like that was the coined thing in the beginning of every episode of Monty Python's Flying Circus. It's like, and now for something completely different. So they were always it seemed like they were always trying to like do something against the mainstream.
Hell yeah, and I can give them that. I mean, I don't know much about it, but what I've seen is very against the mainstream and off the wall, and they accomplished that for sure.
I feel like the only thing that I can really compare it to is like a bit of Fry and Laurie, which is Stephen Fry and Hugh Laurie.
I've never seen that. Yeah, the guy from House.
Yeah, Hugh Laurie, who I think a lot of people forget, like that before he did House and started doing serious stuff, he was a comedian.
I've never seen the comedy act, but I know him from House because I love that show.
And Stephen Fry is another pretty well known British actor. He's very funny.
Yeah, I've definitely seen him here and there.
So yeah, I mean those two had their own show that was a sketch comedy show.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's on Amazon Prime. I'm not sure, but
it's on one of them.
Yeah, I've never seen it. I've never seen it. How old is it? 90s or is it 2000s?
What, a bit of Fry and Laurie?
Yeah.
80s, I think.
Is it that old?
Yeah,
okay.
A lot of the stuff like they did like in the 80s or maybe even 70s.
Holy
I don't think
shit.
a lot of that shit made it to the 90s. I think by that point they were starting to move on to other stuff. Stephen Fry, I believe was moving on to other stuff. I don't know about Hugh Laurie, but yeah, like by the 90s, I'm pretty sure. Well, I believe one of the guys from Monty Python died in the late 80s from cancer or something. I can't remember his name. He's got a biography on a movie about him called The Liar's Biography or something like that. It's basically it's him doing his own autobiography, but like embellishing a bunch of shit. But yeah, so I believe at that point they'd started to go off to do other stuff, and they were kind of just, at least for Monty Python, because I believe after Python is when Cleese did Faulty Towers. Eric Idle was doing other stuff. Terry Gilliam was doing, I feel like Terry Gilliam did Time Bandits.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's a Terry Gilliam bit. But like,
Terry
Gilliam's all over the place. Like he was doing stuff like Man of La Mancha, or no, not Man of La Mancha. Lost in La Mancha was a documentary about him trying to produce Don Quixote, and it fell apart everywhere. Like he had Johnny Depp like on to play Don Quixote and stuff like that, and it was he was from day one he was beset by like unfortunate accidents and shit like that. It just like basically he never got the movie made.
Huh. Fucking.
I believe he also did Heath Ledger's last movie, which is
Brokeback Mountain.
No, it's the Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus. Because I believe.
Holy shit! I've never even heard of this.
I believe Heath died in the middle of production, so they had to get other people to play his character in certain spots. So they got
I remember hearing that.
Yeah, they got Colin Farrell and not Ewan McGregor, maybe Ewan McGregor, and I can't remember the other guy's name. But yeah, so that was a Terry Gilliam.
Have you seen the movie?
Yeah, I owned it at one point.
Is it good?
It's very good. It's beautifulully shot. Like I say, Terry Gilliam's got an eye for visuals, especially when he's able to do animatics or animations and stuff like that. Tom Waits plays the devil in the movie, so that's usually pretty cool. Tom Waits is great in the movie. But yeah, I believe that was the last movie that Heath Ledger ever was part of. So I think he died in the middle of filming it.
Yeah, I thought he did. Anyways, that's not comedy talk. But
No.
it's not, you like Dave Chappelle?
So I enjoyed old Dave Chappelle, and I
Old? Did you say old?
Yeah, older.
Young?
His younger stuff. And like I enjoyed the Chappelle Show, but
Yeah, the first 2 seasons. For
the
sure.
first, yeah. But
What do you think
newer,
about
his newer stuff? Just does not.
That's why I bring it up, because he's less of a stand-up comedian. His newer shit, when he came back after those 15 years,
Yeah.
Sticks and Stones, those first 2 specials on
Yeah.
Netflix, hilarious. But recently, in the last year or two, he's more. And I hate to talk shit because I know what he's doing, and he's trying to make the world a better place and make a good point. But
Yeah.
he's just like making more statements and being more prolific, or
Well, he's trying
you know
to
what I
make
mean?
what because I think
It's not stand-up comedy. It's more of a beautiful point. Okay.
right. I think what the thing with Chappelle and I think I've noted that he's got a new podcast that he does, and I haven't given it
Yeah.
a chance yet, but I'm going
I
to.
have to pay for it to listen to it, so I'm not going to do it.
Oh, well, that might be the reason I don't do it either. But I can at least understand that he's come to the understanding that his words, because of his popularity and like where he was at,
Yeah.
that his words carried a lot of weight and had meaning and still do.
Yeah.
And I think he's trying to be more responsible about it.
Yeah.
I think
Okay.
that would be what I would think he's trying to do.
I agree with that.
And it doesn't. It falls
So I
flat
think
for me. Like it's not the comedy I
he's
want. but-
changing. He's changing. He's from stand-up comedy to something else, which is fucking fine, and he's really good at what he's changing into, because he makes beautiful points.
Yeah.
He is prolific. He is fucking he could be a fucking president. Honestly, I would vote for that fucker.
Yeah. Yeah, for
but,
sure.
But yeah, he puts out things like stand-up special on YouTube, and it's just like, it's not really a fucking stand-up special. It's more of like a beautiful speech or a preach.
Yeah.
A beautiful preaching, which is fucking fine, but just
Yeah.
don't. I just have this stupid fucking, like, don't cover it as stand-up comedy, you know? Don't put it in that category is all I'm saying.
Right.
And who am I to say anything? But
It kind of flows into spoken word as opposed to stand-up
Ooh.
comedy. I think would probably be the right way to look at it.
I think most
It might be a weird definition of it, but I don't know.
yeah.
That seems like
No,
what he's
you're-
doing to me.
You're right. I like that. That's very true.
You know, he's kind of going the way of like what Henry Rollins would do, where like Henry Rollins for a while was releasing stuff that like it was all spoken word, but he was just very funny about it.
Dude, that's Henry Rollins is similar to Kevin Smith, where he's talking,
Yep.
but he's fucking funny. He's
Yeah.
just telling stories. He doesn't label himself as a stand-up comedian.
Yeah.
He's just a one-man show telling stories and blah, blah, blah.
Exactly.
And he's fucking fun and he's entertaining. So, yeah, okay. That's okay. Okay, thank you. Now you're helping me compartmentalize or move Dave Chappelle into a different compartment.
Shifting the
category.
files around. Yeah,
Thank you. Yeah.
for sure. Yeah.
What do you think?
What?
What's up? No, you got a question?
No, I think I was gonna just start babbling about something. What did you want to ask?
Bert Kreischer. You like that guy?
Oh, Bert Kreischer.
You know, the shirtless comedian,
Yeah,
the machine.
I know who he is. He's not my
I think-
favorite.
I love him. He's so engaging and he's a fun energy.
Yeah, he's an
But
entertainer.
why
for
the
sure.
fuck is he so popular?
I think
That
part of it-
machine bit is way overrated. It's not as funny as people say it is.
My problem is that the
I
machine
love the
bit,
guy. I watch all his shit, but
my problem is the
I'm not
machine
trying
bit
to hate.
seems like the only bit that I really can find funny. Like otherwise, I don't find him that funny. He's
Exactly.
He's a magnificent entertainer. He's got great energy,
He's
and I'm sure some
engaging.
people,
Yes,
engaging. I'm sure some people find him funny. I don't find him that funny.
it's like
It's a personal
Brett,
taste.
his audience. It's like he's, and I'm sure he knows it. I feel like I've watched some of his podcasts. I feel like he knows it, but his audience is frat house pieces of shit or like, fuck. I'm trying to not.
He's kind of a party guy, so he appeals to that sort of like
So
mentality.
Van Wilder,
Yeah,
they made that movie about his life because, yeah,
I didn't know that.
yeah, they made an article about him being in college for whatever. It was a Van Wilder type of story. They wrote an article in some magazine,
Interesting.
and then that fucking article bought the rights to that movie, and
Very
it was
interesting.
about Bert. Yeah, that. So the guy is magnificent. It just blows my mind how far he's come and how popular he is when he's really just okay. You know, he's not whack. He's like me rapping or playing bass. I'm not whack or terrible, but I'm not the greatest. You know, I'm just in the middle, and that's kind of where he is. But his fucking lifestyle is he's on top. He's on top. It's
Well,
great.
yeah, I mean,
he is great at marketing though. And
marketing.
advertising.
He interacts with his fans. It sounds like he parties with people after the show. Like he'll party with fans. So like
he does.
So I think that's part of it. Like I think that's
At least the stories are that he does.
Yeah, so I mean, like-
holy shit.
that's the kind of shit that like I think helps in that way. Like he's got that reputation as like, oh, this is somebody that like engages with the fans and like will do whatever. You know,
Yeah.
it's
That probably helps a lot. That's how Dane Cook really got fired up
yep.
because he would just sit on MySpace and reply to all the
Yeah.
people, you know,
You just sit and
and
play
then
guitar.
sell
and,
out shows. Yeah. So yeah. So you've heard the stories, but yeah, I don't know. Have you heard Bert Kreischer? He made a movie with Mark Hamill? It's called The Machine.
I heard that was coming out or was being done. I didn't know
He
it was
just
finished.
finished shooting it.
Okay.
Just
Yeah.
finished shooting it.
So yeah, I kind of heard that it was in production. It's not surprising. That story.
I roll
Is-
my eyes when I talk about it, but I'm going to watch it. I'm going to watch it.
I'm not surprised they made a story out of that because have you ever seen the movie?
Okay.
I hope they serve beer in hell.
No.
Okay,
Never heard
so the movie is based off a book, which is based off of a website run by this guy named Tucker Max, and he basically just tells all these stories about how he gets shithoused and like gets into fucking weird situations and shenanigans, and they're all stories and they're all fucking funny. But basically, what they did was they took his first book because he eventually started putting them into books and like publishing them to make some more money.
Okay.
They took the first book, which was called "I Hope They Serve Beer in Hell." And just cobbled all the stories into one movie somehow. They somehow made it a coherent storyline, even though I had read enough to like go, that's not how that's supposed to happen. That's not what that's supposed to do. But like, so like, it doesn't surprise me that they would do something like that because they did it with Tucker Max, you know, and he's not that famous. Like, he's got a decent following on his website, I'm sure. And I mean, his
Right.
books he's made more than one book, so I'm sure they're selling fine. But like the fact that they just took one of his books, which is literally a series of stories, and put them together into a movie doesn't surprise me anymore.
Yeah, and I just feel like they made the movie because of Bert's popularity.
Exactly.
That guy is on top.
Yep.
And I don't know.
It's
I think-
it's the not grassroots, but like the viral. It's basically it's because it's viral, and it's popular. Like that bit alone, like that whole story is what they're gonna base this movie off of. It's not gonna be anything else that he does. It's not gonna be anything else about him. It's gonna be about that story. I bet you even money. And it's just the viral shit. Like if Bill,
I'm afraid to watch it. I should probably not watch it right away because I have so many
I was like, let some people figure out some shit first. 'Cause,
you like Louis C.K.?
I did.
Do you have a problem with what he did? Is that why you said did?
Well, and his last special wasn't that great to me anyway.
2014 or 14? Yeah, the blue one with him in a suit.
Yeah. Didn't exactly ring well for me. Then I found out some of the shit he did, and that's fucked up, and really didn't make me like him as a person.
Right.
His material could make me laugh. Some of his material makes me laugh, but I mean, him as a person, I don't care for. And
do you like his? Basically, why I bring it up. Do you like dark comedy? Do you like Anthony Jeselnik? Do you like dark comedy?
Okay, Anthony Jeselnik doesn't strike me as funny because he's dark and he's all one-liners, and I just don't think that sort of shit mixes. For me, it doesn't. Put it that way.
That's one of the guys that I fucking hated because of his arrogance. And then he grew on me. For some reason, it clicked one day, and he's hilarious to me. Yeah. And it's all an act. It's all a character.
Yeah, so it's very much a character. It's, if I wanted to go to one-liners, I would stick with, Stephen Wright. Stephen Wright was always one of my favorites as far as one-liners went because of his monotone.
Number one.
But yeah, Louis C.K., I've heard that he's not really doing awesome now because he refuses to really. It sounds like he refuses to take what he did that seriously, but I could be wrong.
That is kind of the problem. His newest stand-up special, Sincerely.
I didn't even know he had that.
I watched it. I have it. It came out a year or two ago.
Oh, okay.
After the fact of the whatever incident,
the sexual harassment stuff.
Yeah. He didn't acknowledge it at all.
Yeah, and
it's kind of. I think you and Tim talked about that with Judd Apatow.
Yeah, it was a Judd Apatow, Pete Holmes. They were on.
Yep. Jim Norton.
Yeah, Jim Norton's XM
Jim
show,
and Sam
Sirius
maybe?
show. Yeah. And they were having a discussion, and it just it sounds like he's really just not he made the apology, but it seemed like it was sort of half-assed somehow.
I can completely agree. The special was funny, but everybody's, including myself, is waiting for that. Yeah. Owning up to a moment. Yeah. And he's just not going to do it for some reason.
Right.
And it is weird, and it's kind of fucking.
Pete Holmes even makes what I think is a very valid point. Is you would think, what he wants him to do is to stop, take a beat and say, yeah, this is something I did that's fucked up. And this is I'm apologizing for it, and then move and somehow move on.
It only takes that little bit, that little moment. Yeah. That's all he's asking, and I completely agree with it.
If you ever get a chance, I'll have Tim send you the link because I don't think I have it, but I'll have him send you the video of the interview because it's 15 minutes and it's super good because it's three.
I sent it to Tim.
Oh, okay, yeah, then never mind. Yeah. That I watched it with Tim, and that whole thing was, I thought, super well done. Super, it's from three guys who you don't expect to be that serious.
Yep.
Because I've seen Pete Holmes, I've seen Jim Norton, and I know kind of what Judd Apatow is.
Oh my God, you're right.
Yeah. You don't expect those sort of
Yeah, and Jim Norton's is on Louis' side, but also understanding Pete.
Yeah,
Pete and Judd's
and that's
point.
The thing.
You know what I mean?
It's not them trashing each other.
They come together very well.
It's not them trashing each other. It's them having a heated debate that is respectful on both sides. Neither one of them is trash talking anybody.
Yep.
And it's all very well done, and we should put the link up on the Facebook page because it's a super good one, and I think people should watch it.
It really is, yeah.
The fuck was I just gonna say? But the one thing I do really enjoy that Louis C.K. did, have you ever watched Horace and Pete's?
Yes, I love that.
I thought it was super good. I was floored by it. I really enjoyed it.
Well said.
But I was floored at how well done
that
it was.
Ending. Holy shit!
That whole ending was fucking.
Oh
bonkers.
My God! And the simplicity and the dialogue. Even that episode with that lady from Roseanne's sister.
Yeah.
Where it's 30 minutes of them she just talking into the camera.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And again, that's
so good. It's another theater type shit.
Yeah, it relies basically. They're like two sets. There's the apartment and then there's the bar.
Yep.
And it's all based around the people that are interacting. And that's the same. It's the same formula that Cheers kind of had from earlier.
Yes.
You know, they didn't use a lot of sets. They maintained it to as well as they could in one spot.
Oh,
so
that's probably why I like it a lot more too.
Yeah,
but
it all is self-contained in those two spots, and that's all you have to worry about. Like you're not worried about where are they now? Where are they now? They're in his apartment or in the bar, and that's where everything's happening. And it's a lot easier to like focus on your characters and the dialogue and the way it's being presented. That's a very dark comedy, by the way. There's bits and pieces that are funny, but that's super dark.
Super dark. And the dialogue is so poetic.
Yeah.
It is just...
It's amazingly well written. I can't remember if Louis C.K. wrote it all himself.
And Steve Buscemi really sells it from me.
Buscemi was great. Alan Alda was great in there.
Yeah. Everybody. Stephen Wright, I think, wasn't even in it. No.
Nick DiPaolo was in it. Felicity Huffman, I think.
No, it wasn't Stephen Wright, but it was. There was an old guy that I can't.
Nick DiPaolo was in it.
Yeah.
A couple other people I don't recognize, and then
Mark Norman makes a cameo.
Yep.
And that lady from Sopranos is in it.
Yeah, I think that's Felicity Huffman. I think that's right. I didn't watch Sopranos, so I don't know.
His wife.
Yeah.
What's her name? Yeah.
That borders on too dark to be a dark comedy. And there's really not much in there to laugh at, even though that's kind of how it's presented.
No, you really don't. You watch it and I watched it and I was thoroughly engaged, like compelled and like captivated.
Yep.
But I was not laughing out loud. I was not smiling, but I was intrigued about the story and the points that were being made.
There were a couple episodes early on where like I may have cracked a smile or chuckled for a moment about something.
Yeah.
Like,
there's
once
small
you hit
moments,
the third,
but it's not a
episode was like
sitcom.
the fucking end of it, and like you couldn't smile about anything after that.
So why I'm enthusiastically agreeing with you is because I was like, oh shit, a new show from Louis. This has got to be a sitcom. And then it's not what you expected. No. Obviously, everything he does is dark, but this is the darkest. It is not a laugh out loud sitcom.
No, and I had kind of heard about it before I watched it. I'd kind of known that it was something that he done and like produced, and like it was kind of it wasn't a big deal, but people were talking about it. I was not prepared for how bleak it is.
Yeah. Oh my God, I did not.
I put it this way: no one is happy in this show.
No, oh my God, it's the worst, saddest ending ever.
Oh, it's terrible.
Everything is nothing but dark shit. His relationship with his daughter, his fucking brother, his father. His son. He has a son.
Angus T. Jones shows up right at the end. He's the guy that comes in with the beard. And he's like,
oh yeah,
and that's where like his sister breaks down and starts crying at a table. Like, and that's how the fucking show ends. I was like,
it is the darkest. Oh my God. So I don't know. I bet you if he didn't get canceled because of the creepy shit he did, that would probably be like a Broadway play. You know, that shit was fucking top notch.
Yeah, I mean they definitely capped it so you couldn't do anything more with it. But yeah, I mean there's certain things they probably could have done with it if he hadn't fucked up his own career.
No, I'm not saying continue, but I could talk to you forever about comedy.
Oh shit!
But we've gone over an hour, so
maybe we should probably wrap her up. Yeah.
We should part 2 this or do this again sometime. But yeah, we should wrap it up.
We'll see how Tim's feeling next week, and if we have to, we'll do a part 2.
I'm gonna be. Yeah, I'm scared. I'm sad. I'm worried.
I've told people.
I love Tim.
I'm a little worried.
Want you back?
Yeah, like I said, we need you back because I mean, Jason and I are going to be lost in the sea for a while here if you don't come back.
It's true. We need your arrogance, Tim.
Right.
Don't even half-ass COVID.
Oh shit. So yeah, we'll wrap her up now, I guess. Yeah. We want you guys to, go give us, positive ratings wherever you can. Look at us on YouTube. Please, by all means, engage us on email or Facebook. Hit us up. We want positive, we want feedback. We don't even give a shit if it's positive. Like, you can tell us we suck.
We want interaction at all
levels.
All levels.
Yeah, because we can't get better without knowing what you guys want. So by all means, please hit us up, interact with us, give us ideas, tell us shit you want, shit you need. So and with that, I'm gonna say we're thankful that you stopped by and listened to us ramble for about an hour and a half. And this is Aram Banyan,
Jason Chandler,
and we'll catch you later.
Thanks.